Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Somewhere between science and superstition.
We have such sights to show you.
Strange Aeons. Welcome to a very special mini episode of Strange Aeons Radio. That's Eric over there.
Hello.
That's Vanessa over there.
Hello.
I'm Kelly. Happy Father's Day, everybody.
Happy Father's Day.
It only seemed proper that we do a Father's Day episode since we did a Mother's Day episode.
Yep.
Yeah.
The always overlooked holiday.
Yeah. This is one of the 2 days I actually get on the phone with my dad, and we'll talk for about 20 minutes. He's deaf as a doorknob, so it's a lot of us saying things to each other and then just a pause while he tries to figure out what I actually said. and sometimes we have the best conversations this way.
Aww. You
Nice.
guys should try to Zoom each other. Maybe he can read your lips.
Ridiculous. My dad is 88 years old. I'm not going to ask him to figure out Zoom.
Oh, that's awesome.
I teased back in the Mother's Day episode about, talking about my dad coming down and letting me know how totally fine it was that I was gay. But that's not the story I'm going to tell you about.
Okay.
I have a million stories about my dad. My dad is a character. I love him dearly. And for this one in particular, because he saved me. Hey, Eric, remember when we were talking about Top Gun and how there were like recruiters sitting in the theater and all that stuff? Well, there were also recruiters in high school. You know, when you become senior, you're being talked to by a lot of guys. And I had taken, the military stuff. And they had taken my name because I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to do. But I did know I did not want to be in the military. I was just too much of a pussy to say fuck off to these soldiers, So they have my name, they have my number, and they would call the house every once in a while. And I would just, kind of like avoid the calls or whatever. And finally they called and they got me and they were talking. And I was just kind of like, I don't really think this is for me. This is not what I really want to do. And they were pressuring. That was, a big pressure. The military
I remember
would get
those
on
calls.
there. And, so my dad, though, we had, back in the day, you've got the landline, you pick up the phone, and if somebody else is on the phone, you can hear what they're saying, right? So my dad could hear me kind of struggling to stand up to these guys. And he gets on the phone. He just picks up the phone. He goes, listen, he already is all he can be. Leave him alone. And that was it. We hung up, and I didn't go into the military. Thanks, Dad. I owe you one.
Oh my.
What about you, Eric?
I have kind of a weird one. It's going to be a little disappointing because I don't entirely remember how it ended. But for a while, my dad was a psychologist specializing in troubled teens. And part of it, he went in and decided he was going to go into reserve police officer as well. So he's a reserve cop for a while. And he came home one night and said, okay, here's what's going on. We're not going anywhere outside of this house for the next 3 days. I'm like, why? Well, because this one officer whose son I was treating has gotten angry with me, took his guns and disappeared after threatening to come after me. So we're going to be staying here. We got a little bit of, we'll see what happens. The weird part is I don't remember how, obviously he did not kill me or my dad or anybody, but beyond that, I don't remember if I think he shot himself in the desert, but I'm not positive.
Wow.
But so, that was a fun thing.
Oh, geez.
So was he a Twin Falls cop?
Yeah, he worked with my dad, and my dad had also, I think, treated his son, and he thought the typical thing like, you're turning my son against me and all this kind of crap. And
oh no.
So it was I think he left the reserve police after that too.
Wow.
Oh gosh. Well, yeah, no, similar to you, Eric. I kind of have a lot of really weird stories about my dad, but just to give you a little context, my dad was like ex-military and then became a truck driver, but he was also a poet. And he was like writing poetry on the road and a photographer. Nice. And he used to climb mountains. And like, this is just very, he was a really larger than life kind of character. But one thing he was definitely was a movie aficionado. Oh. So he wasn't around a lot, but when I did hang out with him, there was a couple of times where he would take me to a movie, and often it was like a kid's movie that he'd be like suckered into having to take me or my siblings to, and he had no interest in them. So he would get up and leave and go to a movie he did want to see, and then wait until our movies were done, and then like go and get us and be like, okay, yeah, all right. How was Dick Tracy after all? How was The Lion King? I'm sure it was very good for you. But yeah, he was really into art house cinema. So got a little bit of my love for movies from him.
That's kind of cool. My dad was my dad and I did a lot of mountain climbing too. That was a big thing for us. Oh, that's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
I shared a couple of movies with my dad, and clearly the experience was far more important to me than him. Like we went and saw Smokey and the Bandit, and I remember just loving that movie and thinking that he loved it too. And then I gave him like the DVD collection of it, several years later, and he was just like, eh.
I remember. I had such a weird early experience in the theaters. I think it was one of the first movies I saw in a theater was with my dad, and it was White Fang. And I got so like wrapped up in it that I like cried out. Like, so I think I was like, he's in the boat or something. I don't know. I was like 6. And like everyone looked at me. And my dad's just like, okay. Okay.
There you go.
So excited.
Yep. Yeah. I talked about Amadeus on another one where that was important, but Eiger Sanction, the Clint Eastwood film, that was a big one with us because mountain climbing and Clint Eastwood. Hey.
Yeah. Well, all right, guys. I think that's our. Oh wait, do we have a?
We got movies.
Movies. A Father's Day movie to watch.
Yeah, our recommendations.
Well, I'm going to throw out Creepshow.
Yeah.
Not just for the Father's Day segment, it's Father's Day and I want my cake, which is spectacular, but also the wraparound segment is young Joe Hill being berated by his father, Tom Atkins. And then, of course, he gets the voodoo doll and starts pinning him at the end. My Creepshow poster, which you guys see every time we record here, is signed by Tom Atkins, and he wrote underneath it, Kelly, that's what fathers are for.
Nice.
Oh, that's so good. Well, my recommendation is going to be quite a sweet father horror tale, which is Train to Busan from 2016.
Oh, jeez.
Nice choice.
The South Korean action movie. Absolutely incredible. Starring Gong Yoo, who we've since seen show up in movies or shows like Silent Sea and Squid Game as like South Korean TV has really taken off. His daughter's played by Soo-an Kim, who she's adorable in this movie. She's great in this movie. And this was her 8th film. She's like a little kid in this, and this is her 8th movie. So, and she's of course been in quite a few films since then, but the story is a workaholic, divorced, terrible father who's just disappointed his daughter at every possible turn. And so she says for her birthday, she wants to spend it with her mom in Busan. So they get onto a train where he's going to take her there. And along the way, an outbreak of zombies occur, an infection, and they have to basically fight all these different elements along the way. And he becomes a less horrible human being for it. And it's just a sweet tale. So
surprisingly emotional.
Yeah.
Shockingly.
For sure.
Shockingly. Like by the end, you're just like crying, like, no, just singing a song in the little tunnel. It's so good.
Good choice.
Well, I went with a Australian film for mine called The Loved Ones.
Oh my
yes.
God. I'm afraid of seeing that movie.
It's a dark film.
It's really dark.
Yeah, directed by the same guy who did the criminally underrated The Devil's Candy.
Oh, yeah.
So if you like that one, the tones are fairly similar. I mean, they're not the same story or anything like that, but the tone is similar. That's Shane Byner. The storyline is a girl gets turned down by her crush to go to a dance. And so her and her dad kidnap him and tie him to a chair and convince him that he probably should have said yes over the course of the film. And it's really, really well done.
Yeah.
So it's one of those kind of like, oh, I hate found footage except for, I hate torture porn except for. This is one of those except for kind of films. Really well done.
Super, super low budget. And it's all carried by the acting, which is really, really strong.
Yes. Yeah. Basically the three people the whole time.
Yeah.
And so it's one room, but well worth checking out. Maybe
nice
not watching with your dad unless you and your dad have a strange relationship, but hey, you might enjoy it.
Yeah, maybe do Train to Busan with your dad if you
there
watch
you go.
one with your dad.
There you go. All right, guys, that's your Father's Day episode. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and we will see you in a few short days with a regular episode. Bye. Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
Strange Aeons Radio is artisanal quality podcasting, handcrafted with all natural ingredients, and edited to perfection by Eric Margaret. Our blistering theme song is Strange Aeons Part 1 by the band Nightshade and is used with permission. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and if you enjoyed this episode, please consider dropping a positive review on Apple Podcasts.
But one thing he was definitely was a movie aficionado.